Good afternoon, everyone. I'd just like to make some housekeeping announcements. I want to let you know, first of all, we're thrilled about the turnout here today. A few housekeeping items. The restrooms are open, should you need them. Should you need a bottle of water to hydrate today, we do have some limited supplies of water here. We ask you to hang on to your water bottle to recycle it when you leave. There also is some sunscreen over there, and if you need a mask, there are a very limited supply of masks available as well for you. But more importantly is we've got a lot of green space on the ground right here, and we'd love for you to move down front for our speakers. They would feel like it's a really friendly crowd if you were down front, and I think we want to feel like we love one another and that we want to be together. The other is, so before you settle in, be conscious if you are not a masked family and you have others that are near you that are not masked, we want to social distance. We want to keep everyone healthy. So do your best to be conscious of the folks near you and around you. And the program will begin in just a few minutes. Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much.
Can I take some pictures of you signs? Oh,
sure. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
My name is Reverend Mindy Mays, and I am the pastor of Bethel AME Church here in Noblesville. I want to first just welcome everybody who is present here at this event. When we were planning, I wasn't imagining such a large crowd, so I am grateful for so many people who are present here. I am grateful that people are speaking out against the atrocities to Black and brown people, to people of color, because Black lives do indeed matter. Few people, our mayor, Chris Jensen, and other city officials. I just want to thank you for being here and for listening to what the citizens of Noblesville has to say. This is a historic event for the city of Noblesville. There were multiple groups who came together to plan this event. Multiple groups to speak against the violence of African Americans, groups that recognize that Black lives do matter. So I do want to thank those involved in planning this event. Bethel AME Church, First United Methodist Church, Noblesville Public Schools, Noblesville Diversity Council, Noblesville Chamber of Commerce, Noblesville Police Department. And then lastly, you'll probably hear this message quite a bit. Today, in addition to being a peaceful protest, we are still in the midst of COVID-19. Therefore, we have lots of space. Let us practice social distancing. Let us spread out to protect one another. And if you have a mask, wear it. As soon as I'm done speaking, I'm going to put it back on. We can talk for that. So now all the officials are out the way. Oh, one more thing. You can share this event. It is being live on the Noblesville Diversity Council's Facebook page, so you can share this event. But now that all of that is out of the way, I just want to share an excerpt of a message that I sent to the members of my congregation. The message read, "As an African American, these are tumultuous times in our country. No one should ever feel fearful of their life. But as a person of color, I admit that I am not sure if I feel safe. I've shared several times on social media posts that I zip my purse when I go into a grocery store. Sometimes I don't even take my purse in. All I take is my wallet. And even then, I am always sure to carry my driver's license, but not just my driver's license, also my Purdue University ID, because if I get stopped by the police or if something happens, I want people to know that I am one of the good ones. Like, I am a graduate of Indiana University. I went to a Big Ten school. So maybe, just maybe, that'll make a difference if something happened. As I watch the news reports in the past week, my spirit is hurting. My spirit is in pain. There are reports of the killings of George Floyd, killed in the hands of police officers, shouting, "I can't breathe." How many more times do I have to shout, "I can't breathe"? I shouted it just a couple years ago when Eric Garner died because he was selling loose cigarettes. Should you have to die because you may have had a counterfeit bill that you may have not even known was counterfeit, or that you're selling some loose cigarettes? This week in the news, we heard about the false accusations by Amy Cooper against Christian Cooper, who used her privilege as a white woman to make the most distressed 911 call. Why do you ask? Because he simply asked her to put her dog on a leash. Then there's Breonna Taylor, killed by the police officers in a botched raid on the wrong house, and then Kenneth Taylor arrested and charged with assault because he was protecting his home. And let's not forget Ahmaud Arbery, who was killed while jogging, shot by 2 white vigilantes. Let's just call it what it is. Right. Taking the law into their own hands to make a citizen's arrest. Even here, close to Indianapolis, we've experienced the killing of Drayshawn Reed, killed after being in a high-speed chase. Just because you are in a high-speed chase does not mean you have to die. As a black woman, I'm scared that I will get the call that my brothers, or that my nephews, or that my cousins, my godson, or some member of my family, possibly me, will have an encounter with the police and it won't end well. But I have hope. I have hope because in the church, we just celebrated Pentecost. And in the Pentecost season, we saw that a multitude of nations came together and they received the Holy Spirit. Together, we saw a group of people who were living out the commands that Jesus called of them. As I thought about this group, I have 2 thoughts. First, we never really talk about it, but at that time, it would have been a radical thing to go against the government and status quo. The people said that they were drunk or that they were crazy, but they were filled with the Spirit. And as I say so often, I know the Bible may have been written for a particular people, but what I see in that text are some radical people, and we can learn from their radicalness. I think sometimes along the way, we feel that we must follow the status quo. But you see, this group of people was speaking against the government and the ideals and the norms of that time, just as we must speak against injustices, just as we must speak against marginalization, and sometimes it means we might have to speak out against the government. We're called to seek truth, and we're called to seek justice, and we're called to speak against atrocities. And this does not mean that we outright break the law, but it does mean that we need to speak out against the things that we know are wrong. But there is something else that was interesting for this about me. And you may call me naive, but I know that there is some kind of power, and when we work together through this power, as Americans, we are a melting pot of people. We are from different races and nationalities and sexes and generations, but we can come together, and when we come together, just maybe, and maybe I will be naive to the day I die, but maybe, just maybe, one day we will move to a place of equality. One day we won't have to stop. One day I won't have to explain to people that all lives do matter, but all lives can't matter until Black lives matter. We must continue to work for our brothers and work for our sisters, to work for Black people and for brown people and for people of color, because all lives cannot matter until Black lives matter equally. Until that time comes, we must continue to fight for peace and to fight for justice and to fight for the marginalized, because I know somehow, some way that the Spirit is going to move, and somehow, some way, as Sam Cooke says in his song, it's been a long time coming. But I am a believer. I know when I look out on this crowd and I see all of the people represented, I know that a change will come.
Competition up here from the birds. I don't speak bird speak, but I think it's saying Black Lives Matter. My name is Jerry Reardon. I'm one of the pastors at Noblesville First United Methodist Church. This event started with a phone conversation with Pastor Mindy. I thank her for receiving that call, and then we started conversations that went beyond that. It included many people in this city. Thank you all for coming out. It just warms my heart to see all this. I want to first recognize the faith community that have chosen to respond. I do apologize ahead of time. We had to throw this thing quickly together, so conversations could include everybody right off the bat. But those that did respond and said they planned to be here were Father Tom Metzger from Our Lady of Grace Catholic Church. I see right there. Pastor Cheryl Russell of the First Christian Church is here. Reverend Terry Ditzler from the Roots of Life Community Church. Derek Hansen, chaplain from Riverview Hospital. Tyler Bender and Reverend Barry Rodriguez is here representing Grace Church. Reverend Shad Hill from Deer Creek Community Church. And I want to acknowledge my friend, retired pastor of Bethel AME Church, Pastor Mallory Terrence is here. Reverend Mallory Terrence got the Martin Luther King celebration going big time again 3 years ago. Thank you for helping us get that rolling again. Well, I just want to make a couple statements regarding about what we're here for today. First, we're here to stand together as a community in solidarity and support of our Black friends and family to stop racial violence in America. Racism is systemic, therefore we are here as a proactive step. We hope this civil discourse will encourage a thorough exploration of all police training, policy, protocols, and hiring practices in Noblesville and Hamilton County. I had the opportunity some years back to serve as a chaplain for the Floyd County Sheriff's Department in New Albany, Indiana. I spent 8 years as a volunteer negotiator for the SWAT team, which gave me kind of a unique perspective. I was kind of in the brotherhood, but not in the brotherhood. And I found 90% or more of those that I worked alongside of were true professionals who honored the profession and understood they served all the citizens of our county. I also came to realize how critical it was to have thorough training and accountability and a bias against the use of force, or incidents like we have seen in several major cities will happen. Unfortunately, too many of our African American brothers and sisters have paid the price for the lack of that accountability. It is time for us to challenge the culture that is within all of our institutions: religious, education, business, law enforcement, and government. And second, I hope if you're white and male like myself, and likely don't consider yourself a racist, that you'll join me on the journey to discover how much systemic racism has been embedded in our view of the world. From our place of privilege, it has been too easy to dismiss what has happened to George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, or Ahmaud Arbery as just isolated incidents. But these acts are so abhorrent, they're shining a light on the fallacy of our assumptions, including my assumptions. I found myself humbled when this quote showed up on my Twitter feed. We are not seeing an increase in racial violence, it is just being videoed. As a white male, I've usually given the benefit of the doubt to the people most like me. In spite of being a basically good person who loves people regardless of their skin color, I've been blinded by the systemic racism deeply ingrained in our culture. At the age of 63, I'm now just beginning to wake up to how little I know about racism and how much work we still have in our country to eliminate the structures that oppress persons of color. Let me say just a little bit more about systemic racism. You might have seen the statement put out by Ben & Jerry's Corporation. It was a powerful statement this past week. And they also distributed an info fact sheet that went along titled 7 Ways Systemic Racism is for Real. It's worth Googling. If you've not seen it, I encourage you to read it and share it. Here's just a few of the facts you'll find in that article. Blacks with a college degree are 2 times as likely to be unemployed as all other graduates. Job applicants with white-sounding names get called back about 50% more often than applicants with black-sounding names, even when they have identical resumes. Black students overall are 3 times more likely to be suspended than white students, even when their infractions are similar. And once black children are in the criminal system, they are 18 times more likely than white children to be tried as an adult. And finally, black drivers are 30% more likely than whites to be pulled over by the police. My challenge to you, if you look like me, is first of all, be humble. This is a time for us to listen and believe persons of color. Second, be aware. Go ahead. Second, be aware. Educate yourself on systemic racism. There's just a lot of excellent new books out. Join a book club. I'm hearing that's happening all over the place. There are a lot of excellent books that will help people like us who want to be a part of the solution instead of being complicit with racism. Third, don't become defensive. This isn't about choosing up sides and placing blame. It's about working together to change the structures that hold people down. And finally, consider become an anti-racist. Anti-racist. educated is not enough. Just being tolerant is not enough. Eliminating racism in all of its forms requires action. Black Lives Matter. And yes, we need to name it because it is the only way we can begin to recognize the systemic racism that is built into our society and sometimes resides in us. What are you going to do?
My name is Kennedy, and I recently actually just graduated from Noblesville High School. And this is my sister Kaya, and she'll be a freshman this upcoming school year. So first off, I would like to thank everyone who set aside time today to come show their support for Black lives and to listen. I want you to know I'm sorry. I want you to know what it feels like to be a young Black woman in America right now. The first time I saw the video of George Floyd, being killed by Minneapolis police, I felt confused, angry, sad, and disgusted, but I wasn't surprised. I am only 18 years old, but this was not the first, second, or even third time I had seen a video of an unarmed Black person dying at the hands of police. I grew up hearing about racism from my grandparents, that my grandparents experienced when they were young, how they had to fight for their rights, how my grandfather, who is here, participated in a sit-in at the Woolworth's lunch counter in Nashville just to get the right to be served alongside white people. That was more than 60 years ago. It is 2020 and my Black friends and I are still fighting, and that is not okay. I know my grandparents did not want this for their children and grandchildren. I don't want my future children and grandchildren to still be trying to convince our fellow Americans that our lives matter 60 years from now. We need a change. We need it now, and we cannot lose not one more Black life. As I watched the news and surfed the internet over the last several days, I have noticed a thirst for justice for not just Black people, but also from allies of all races, and I have never seen that before. I've noticed the silence from some people too, and that isn't new. I've grown up in Noblesville. At school, I was on the cheer team and dance team, and I played volleyball. I've been in Scouts and many more activities in this community. I've made lots of white friends, some that I communicated with almost daily. But you know what? Most of them have been silent. They have not spoken up for Black lives. They have not spoken up for me, their friend. Not a post, not a retweet, not a text asking if I'm okay, or how I feel seeing a Black man who could have easily been my brother or father or uncle or cousin or friend die over and over again on TV and my computer. Maybe they don't know what to say, or maybe they think their voice doesn't matter to me. But you know, I attended the protest on the Noblesville Square a few days ago, and I met a young man who said something that stuck with me the rest of that day. He said, "I know I'm just one white guy, and this might not mean anything, but I'm sorry that you have to go through this." He said that he wishes for better days for Black people. I thanked him and I told him how necessary his voice is. He's important, one white guy fighting for a change just like me. Racism is not a Black problem. Police brutality is not a Black problem. These are everyone's problems. We should not want a society where a Black man can be suffocated to death under a police officer's knee over a $20 bill. We all should... We all should be working toward a society where Black and brown people are treated equally to white people. We should all want that. If you say you believe in equality but you are silent, if you are not taking action right now, today, you don't really believe what you say, and you are a part of the problem. Words don't matter, you're wrong. If you think your inaction does not matter, you're wrong. They matter more than ever. We need unity and strong advocates in order for us to really make a change. This month, my fellow students in the Noblesville High School class of 2020 will graduate and enter a brand new world. Please, please help me make it a good one. Thank you.
I'm the Director of Public Safety. I have a speech written today, but it just changed. If there's anyone in this crowd who does not see, understand, and respect the courage and the bravery of that young lady in that speech, and at the same time, if there's any one of you in this audience right now that did not drive you further to be determined to have an impact and to make sure that each one of us takes a piece of that pain and that fear and that anger and try to make this better, then we've lost vision. Because we have to do that. We have to start today. Your passion, your commitment, and your dedication to making our city a better place for every member of our community is amazing. Look to your left, look to your right, and see that you're not alone. Look at the power of all of these here with who we share your desire to do better. I assure you, the city of Noblesville, the mayor, and the city stand steadfast beside you in this change. I always try to speak from the heart. I very rarely write a speech on paper, but I felt this one was important that I get it right, and I took that step. I was very nervous about speaking to you here today. As a man, I'm a retired police officer, and I spent my entire life as an adult working to have an impact and getting comfortable at being uncomfortable. This is one of the most difficult topics that I've ever had to discuss. And that is the core of my challenge for you today. Embrace that uncomfortableness. Be courageous and have these conversations. Most importantly, for everyone out here today who looks like me, truly listen. Listen and actually hear what is being said. Too many have felt unheard for too long. We must work to make sure that their voices and their perspectives are heard, and in some instances, we must even advocate and speak for them when they can't. We all want and need to feel valued and respected. How do we make someone feel valued and respected? We show them through our actions that they truly are valued and respected, not just our words. One important point that I feel that I had to make is related to what I mean when I say listen. I initially thought it was important to share how I felt this week. Tired, frustrated, angry, and disgusted by what I saw happen to George Floyd. I then had another feeling, embarrassment. I was embarrassed because I felt that and was feeling sorry for myself, and I'm a white male. That in and of itself is part of that white privilege that I at times don't recognize or understand. I could never know or feel the depth of pain of those same emotions and many more which are being felt by every black man and woman in our country today. And for that, I'm sorry. We could not have had a more pure and clear demonstration of that pain, anger, today than we saw just prior to my speech. That is exactly the point that we all need to embrace and make sure that we take action to take a piece of that away and move forward. This is why it's important that when I say listen, I do not merely mean go to someone you know who is black and ask them, what can I do? Do not make them experience these feelings again and again every time they are asked that question. You're smart, motivated men and women. Dedicate the time and effort to researching, learning, and growing on your own. The amount of information that exists on the topics of racism, prejudice, bias, extremism is immeasurable. We all learn differently, and it comes in every format, from book to video to podcast. Pick which one works best for you and get to work. To help with this, the mayor's office has added a section to our city website which is dedicated to these resources, contains reading lists, websites, TED Talks, podcasts from a variety of perspectives. Don't just find the ones that you agree with or that agree with your perspective. Have the courage to read, to research, look at other perspectives and listen. Broaden your perspectives, go deeper, and truly learn. We have also purchased a number of books for both children and adults that are in the mayor's office that you can come to the mayor's office and check out and take with you and take home to read. Return them if you'd like. We prefer that someone else got used to them when you were done. If you need to share them in your house, in your community, with someone you think needs to read that, share it. Be an advocate for getting that information out there. We want to make sure that everyone has the opportunity and no one can say they didn't know. I also want to say that I'm proud of our public safety officers' willingness to grow alongside of us in this entire city administration by actively listening, reading, and ramping up on our accountability, our efforts to pursue diversity and inclusion goals. I'm committed to further communicating, listening to what you have to say, and working to put action steps in front of us to make sure that our great city of Noblesville is and it continues to develop further as a city that every member of our community can proudly call home and feel safe, valued, and respected. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Norman Williams. I'm a 16-year resident of Noblesville. I'm part of the committee that does the Martin Luther King program every year. I'm president of Noblesville United. And while I'm honored to be able to be here and speak on this, I'm saddened that I have to be. As I look out on the crowd, it's nice to see so many people of different ages, races, colors, and nationalities, all with the same purpose, to stand up with one unified voice to say Black Lives Matter. But let me make something clear. I'm not here just because of George Floyd. I am not here just because of Breonna Taylor, or just because of Ahmaud Arbery, or just because of Tamir Rice. I'm here because of my 4 children, Kate, Lauren, Andrew, and Benjamin. I'm here for their children, and I'm here for your children as well. I'm here so that my children are not scared for their lives, the way that I was at 15, when 2 of my friends and I were surrounded by officers, guns drawn, and accused of trying to steal a car. And the only reason why we were released was because the owner of the car came forward and contradicted the officer's story. I'm here so that they never know the fear that I had when I was with 2 of my classmates in college. Handcuffed, laid down on the street, guns drawn. And were made to lay there until my friend's mother got home, because the officer said we didn't look like we belonged in that neighborhood. The daily fear that African Americans feel is real, but it is nothing new. It was nothing new with Trayvon Martin. It was nothing new with Eric Garner. It was nothing new with Rodney King or even Michael Taylor. And it wasn't even new with Emmett Till. As a matter of fact, it's the opposite of new. It's old. It is old and it is tired. Over the past week and a half or so, I've been genuinely asked by my white friends, what can I do? Because they too are tired of seeing unarmed black men losing their lives to the hands of police brutality. While the answer may be complicated, it's not hard. You listen and you talk. When your black friends tell you about their experiences, you take time to listen. You can no longer be willfully naive or aggressively ignorant. It is time to have those uncomfortable conversations. You need to talk to your neighbors, talk to your kids, talk to your friends, and more importantly, have some talks with yourself. You have to listen when your friends tell you, it's a shame that somebody lost their life, but this rioting and looting has to stop. And you have to tell them no. The rioting and looting are a shame, but it's bad when a young black man loses his life. To the good officers who are tired of being lumped in with the bad ones, we know your jobs are hard, and we respect what you do. But it's time for you to stand up too. You cannot continue to stand by silently and watch as your colleagues bring disgrace upon you and your profession with every swing of the baton. If you see something, say something. You took an oath to protect and serve, and that applies to all of us. But it is time that we stop accepting things that we cannot change and start changing things that we cannot accept. This change begins at the voting booth. This past Tuesday was our primary election. I hope that everyone voted. We have all seen the chaos that has ensued in other parts of the country when people felt that they haven't been heard. Our votes can be heard louder than any bottle breaking and have more impact than any brick that's being thrown. We can make our voices scream from the mountaintops through the power of our vote. But we cannot just speak loudly when things are happening. We must speak loudly every day, and when they don't hear us, we make sure we yell when we get to the polls. From the White House, to the State House, to the courthouse, we need to hold our elected officials accountable. We have to let them know that no longer will we accept the mistreatment of black men, and if they do not take a stand, then they can have a seat, and we will vote somebody else. They thought that they could break us with shackles and chains, but we stood strong. They thought that their red line districts would keep us in our place, but we pushed through. They thought that their dogs and water hoses would quiet us, but we have kept on singing. And now that they feel that their batons and bullets will keep us from justice, but they'll find that our resolve is bulletproof. It has taken 400 years for us to get here as a country, but we're not there yet. But we will get there. One voice at a time, one vote at a time, and one people standing together. On May 25th, George Floyd's life was taken from him. For 8 minutes and 46 seconds, George Floyd laid on the cold, hard street, while Minneapolis police officer Dennis Chauvin had his knee on his neck. We know that at one point he called out for his mother, who passed away 2 years prior. But we don't know what else went through his mind. And so to honor the life of George Floyd, we are asking everyone to participate in the die-in. For those of you who feel comfortable while maintaining social distancing, we ask that you lay down. For those of you who don't, just stand quietly for this 8 minutes and 46 seconds and meditate and reflect. And just think about the thoughts that have maybe been running through his mind as he felt his life being taken away. do want to thank everyone who came out and participated in the show of Unity today. We've seen plenty of visuals, stories, and news of things getting out of control, and it's great that we were able to show everyone that Noblesville supports Black Lives Matter. This protest was a community effort. Bethel AME Church, Noblesville First United Methodist, Noblesville Schools, the City of Noblesville, the Noblesville Chambers of Commerce, the Noblesville Police Department, and the Noblesville Diversity Coalition. We've got a long way to go, and we know the work doesn't end here. The Noblesville Coalition, as a matter of fact, is dedicated to making Noblesville a welcoming community for all cultures and identities. Has a lot of programming out there that's coming up in the future with a variety of topics and formats that are encouraging dialogue, learning, and understanding. As a matter of fact, there's a scheduled series of community events over the next coming weeks. The first one this week will be a talk with the mayor and the chief of police. So make sure that you stay connected with the Noblesville Diversity Coalition on the Facebook page, and as well as the city of Noblesville has a diversity and inclusion page as well.
My name is Aaron Hobbs, and I'm one of the pastors of Noblesville First United Methodist Church and a board member of the Noblesville Diversity Coalition. Before I close our time together with a special prayer, we would like to thank you all for being here today. Your very presence shows that you are paying attention and that you are ready for change to come. Thank you for your support of Black lives and demanding an end to racial violence in the racist systems present in our community, our state, and our country. And we'd like to especially give thanks to our young people out there who are help leading the way. This is a critical moment in our nation's history. We have had several such moments in the past, and sadly, we have allowed ourselves to be satisfied with incremental changes that have resulted in the continued dehumanization and unholy sacrifice of Black lives in America. This week, ESPN commentator Maria Taylor said what many of us are feeling. My patience left my body. When I watched George Floyd take his last breath. I hope that is true for us. I hope we have lost patience. As a member of the faith community, I know that God has lost patience with our inattention to the injustices facing our Black brothers and sisters in this nation, and we must change. At the conclusion of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King's final published work before his assassination on April 4th, 1968. He wrote in Where Do We Go From Here about the need to seize the moment, which rings even more true today now that over 50 years have passed us by. As our closing prayer, we will hear Reverend Dr. King's words, and between them we will remember the names of just a small fraction of the Black lives needlessly lost, getting us to this moment. After each name is read, I would like all of you to join me in response by saying, maybe now. King wrote, we are now faced with the fact that tomorrow is today. Trayvon Martin, maybe now. We are confronted with the fierce urgency of now. In this unfolding conundrum of life and history, there is such a thing as being too late. Eric Garner, maybe now. Procrastination is still the thief of time. Michael Brown, maybe now. Life often leaves us standing bare, naked, and dejected with a lost opportunity. Tamir Rice, maybe now. The tide in the affairs of men does not remain at the flood, it ebbs. Freddie Gray, maybe now. We may cry out desperately for time to pause in her passage, but time is deaf to every plea and rushes on. Philando Castile, maybe now. Over the bleached bones and jumbled residues of numerous civilizations are written the pathetic words, too late. Aaron Bailey, maybe now. There is an invisible book of life that faithfully records our vigilance or our neglect. Ahmaud Arbery, maybe now. The moving finger writes and having written moves on. Breonna Taylor, maybe now. We still have a choice today, nonviolent coexistence or violent co-annihilation. Drayshawn Reed, maybe now. This may well be humankind's last chance to choose between chaos and community. George Floyd, maybe now. Now. The time for maybes is over. The time is now. The time is now to end the sacrifice of unarmed black men and women. The time is now to end white silence and claims of innocence. The time is now to remove the hood of white supremacy from our hearts and the power structures of our nation. The time is now to educate yourself and listen and believe the stories of your black neighbors that they are telling you. And the time is now to say Black Lives Matter, because until they truly do, all lives will never matter. So God of love and justice, let our love and your love rain down on each of us gathered here and lift us up to higher ground. Heal us from and transform us with the unity of your Spirit so that we may be agents of your love. Too many tears have fallen. Too many people have sacrificed. Too much blood has been shed for us to settle for anything less. Wake us all from our slumber. We press snooze on white supremacy and racism one too many times. It's time to get up and to do the work every single day. Black Lives Matter. The time is now. So be it. Amen. Go in peace.